Hello, I'm Kody, and welcome to session 23 of my Pillars of Eternity turn-based Triple Crown attempt. Last time we killed the dragon Kale, and then turned in that quest to Firga. Then we followed up on Persock, though we still didn't come anywhere near finding him. And finally, we returned to Defiance Bay to try to get the alliance of either the Crucible Knights or the Dozens, though we have not, as of yet, decided which. This episode, unfortunately, is going to be a little bit different than normal, as I recorded the entire episode and then saw that my mic had been muted,
Certainly.
so I am now recording this in post as I watch it back. It is an particularly unfortunate episode for this to have happened in, as I spent a lot of time waffling about trying to make decisions, and I'm not going to be able to replicate my thought process precisely as I do. First, we decide check in on the quests that might exist for the Crucible Knights, but before that, I figured I'd check the shopkeep up here. I remember him having some unique gear in the past, and I had no money when I was here before, so wanted to double check. S-Stock seems interesting, but not particularly good for anybody on my team. I feel like the disorienting effect on hit might be very good if one were to build a rogue around it, as I believe disorienting is one of the abilities that qualifies one for sneak attack, and a rogue focused on just hitting with that there S-Stock would be quite interesting. Possibly bad, but interesting. Rogue, of course, had been one of the classes I had heavily considered building for this playthrough, but ultimately went with Ranger. Nothing about this seems particularly good. Unique benefit of having a defense against prone and push attacks is it's not a bad thing, but not worth spending money on. The firebrand charges, on the other hand, from these gloves seem quite appealing to me. I quite like the effect when Chie has used it. And the gloves are fairly cheap, so I ultimately decide to buy them. Though I don't know who I want to put them on yet. Grieving Mother not having any bracers or the like yet is an appealing choice for it, and it would give her something to do when she doesn't have focus, and probably earn focus faster than her bow attacks. But I did not think of that when I was actually playing, and now that I'm thinking it through, I think it might be wise to put them on her. That is not what I chose to do, however. I consider giving it to Sagani as a melee option, but I generally don't want her in melee, and really, there's no penalty to using your bow in melee, which makes focusing on having a melee option for rangers less important than it is in many games where you get a penalty to attack or attacks of opportunities when you're in melee. So I gave it to Edar, and then I moved his previous gloves that give the Restore Light Endurance ability to the Grieving Mother. Here I'm just skimming to see if I already have a quest for either the Crucible or the Knights of the Crucible or the Dozens. I thought I might, but I did not. And otherwise, just refreshing my memory on what quests I do have. Here I am speculating, I think, on whether or not Cleoban Relag might be somewhere I can reach now under a different name, or if it's just somewhere I haven't seen yet. I don't know which. I feel like if it was somewhere I could reach now, something in the game might have hinted me towards that, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me if that was just like Glanfathan word for a region we've already been at that is known as something else to us.
Dunstan will complete the first squad of Forge Knights in no time. Now the High Justice will want to have his Forge Masters at Fleetbreaker Castle create more. I've made a copy of Viana's research, and the High Justice has sent a courier to Anslog's Compass to retrieve it. The dozens have gotten too active for the courier to come to Defiance Bay, and after Viana's kidnapping, we've got to assume they know about our plans. That's why I'm sending you to deliver the research. You shouldn't be recognizable to the dozens. Yet.
Securing the city against the dozens agitating seems like a worthwhile goal. It's certainly too important to be entrusted to a common courier, says Pelagina. But after this, I expect they'll learn of your association with us, and they won't be too happy about it. Neither will the Dominels, he snorts. They're trying to expand the family business, and they resent us for standing in the way. I need someone I can trust, and you've proven your integrity, both in my service and in Defiance Bay. I appreciate the caution, but just remember where the real power in Defiance Bay lies. We're doing the work of the Duke, after all. So I ultimately decide to decline here, not so much because I don't want to do the Crucible Knight's task, as because I just want to see what the dozens want of me before I make that decision. Don't know if simply accepting the quest will lock me out of the dozens or if I would have to complete it first, but I figured it was best to go talk around and see what the options are first.
Lights here.
Missed the dialogue by not panning the camera over to them quickly enough, but Sagani said, "You fought in the Deerwood in the Saints' War?" To which Eder replied, "You better grab a couple pints before you get me going on that one." And Sagani added, "Well, no complaints there." Kind of wish those companion dialogues were more audible regardless of where the camera is. Possibly, I think, the game should have put the microphone on your character instead of on the screen.
I do have something, if you don't mind stepping on the toes of the Crucible Knights. Come to think of it, the Dominels won't be too pleased either. They've never liked seeing someone with nicer things than them.
I don't want to check the shop before I make any further thoughts there. Something might end up locking me out of one shop here or the other. And I remember there being some unique gear here as well. Got the bracers of +2 might, +1 con. A hat that gives a 2 resolve at the cost of an intellect. A ring that gives 2 con, 1 resolve. Bile Stompers that give you some DR against Corrode and a thrice per day ability. Cloak of the Fox and Hunter, which summons a beagle for us once per rest. Uses a very contentious slot to the neck, so I ultimately decide that even though I'd be kind of curious to try it out and see if the beagle's any use, I don't want to take anyone's cloak and or necklace off. We've got this monocle that gives will, whispers of treason. A nice cheap belt that gives some berserker frenzy duration that I do consider buying despite not having a berserker or a barbarian, just in case a barbarian ever joins me. I ultimately don't. Grab the ring and the bracers. Let's take most of my remaining money away. I seem to be unable to hold on to a decent store of cash. Every time I get it, I find something to spend it on. I check to make sure the constitution on the ring doesn't stack with the armor. I remember learning that stat boost on weapons stacks with other stats, and I thought maybe that would apply to armors as well, but it doesn't, unfortunately. I think that would have been a decent choice to have made, though personally would just prefer it if everything stacked, as not a huge fan of the whole just only the highest number applies, especially when all of the items that give stat boosts in this game give quite small amounts. You know, I think 3 is about as high as it gets, maybe 4 if you're lucky. I've certainly not found a 4 yet. So I don't think making them stack would be overly dramatic. And would be a lot more fun and a lot more engaging to figure out your gear loadout. I'll move the dexterity gloves over to Canna in the hopes of him getting turns a little bit more frequently, as he gets them far too rarely for my tastes. In a perfect world, he'd get his turns pretty much perfectly in line with how he chants, with how he delivers phrases, but with how the turn-based system works, those phrases seem to come at the delineation of the turn, regardless of when he gets his turns. I mean, they don't actually come, they always come, like if he gets a turn after the second, or if he gets his first turn after the second round, both of his first 2 phrases will go off at the same time. It's a very weird system, and I don't like it. I think the chants should happen independently of his turn. I remember reading some discussion that pointed out in the early beta of the turn-based, chanters' chants just went on their turn, but that had the problem that just passing your turn would make them chant really, really quickly, which honestly sounds very fun, and I wish I'd played with that version. It sounds broken, and I understand why they fixed it, but it sounds very fun.
I do have something, if you don't mind stepping on the toes of the Crucible Knights. Come to think of it, the Dominels won't be too pleased either. They've never liked seeing someone with nicer things than them.
Here I agonize a bit, I think, because I'm worried if I hit where do I begin, it will instantly lock me out of the Crucible Knights, but also I don't have a strong preference for either of them. I'm leaning towards going with the Crucible Knights simply because they actually told me what they want, whereas Wherein here tells me nothing about what he wants me to do until I have already accepted. But on the other hand, if I go with the Crucible Knights, I came all this way for nothing and I have to sit through several loading screens. So I find myself waffling back and forth. Do I want to go back to the Crucible Knights who at least were willing to tell me what they wanted of me?
Some of my other expeditions come back with a rumor about a place called Lea Remen up near Stormwall Gorge. It's supposed to hold some of the greatest weapons those Engwithan bastards ever made, and we've got need of them.
You're cozy with the Knights. You must have heard some rumor of this soul-bound monstrosity they're building. I don't know about you, but I don't trust that gas-bag Cliver with something like that. Us sensible kith need to be ready to protect ourselves and the city. If there's anything that can stand a chance against this madness, it's weapons made by the Engwithans themselves. They made the same kinds of abominations in their time, and they'd know how to kill them. I've sent the Giant Slayers after the weapons, but they haven't had much luck so far. They're better fighters than treasure hunters. Meet up with them at the wooden plains and see how far they've gotten. If you can get those weapons, I'll see you get your cut. What's the harm in arming a bunch of angry folks that don't like to think all that much? Well, ultimately, I chose to go with the dozens primarily just for load screen efficiency, since I'd already trekked across the city to them. The simple luck of having saved nearer the Crucible Knights last time ultimately informed my decision. I had no strong preference, though, so that didn't bother me too much. Load screens in this game are even worse just watching it back than they are when playing, and they're pretty bad when playing. I'm quite surprised when I run into Nedden. A woman you remember from the Brackenberry strides over to you. The hem of her robe is torn and covered in burrs. You could have just refused. You could have just forgotten all about the theorems of Pengram. But you had to go tell Grimda. Her voice trembles and she clutches at her hair with a shaking hand. I know you're prone to strong opinions, but I had no idea you'd launched a personal crusade against me. He barks with a harsh laughter. Me too, in response to me apologizing. I then find myself checking my inventory because I'd kept the book on me, just in case I ran into her, the hopes that it would give me an option to give it to her. The fact that it did not bugs me quite a bit. I had no interest in killing this woman or her friends. I have the book, I'll give it to her. That seems an adequate apology for accidentally telling on her to the librarian.
Your thoughts must flow deeply indeed.
Hey.
Lava will be on seek. I shall end this. I'm ready.
Following your lead. Following your lead. Let's
Lava will be on seek. Lava will be on seek. I'm ready.
Hey.
Oh, 67 damage from that into the fray. It's quite a bit for something that was a free action. Happy to find some vendor trash after having just spent all my money. And of course I see this Ring of Eternal Funding. +5 copper. I don't really know what that is. I know at some point in my life I've read some discussion about how it's not very good, and I think it's because it gives the copper whenever you, like, advance a quest some stage, and, like, you just don't do that enough for 5 copper to matter, but I toss it on Sagani since she has a free ring slot, and better than literally nothing, I suppose. Now I'm just looking around trying to find the giant slayers. Looking to see if they give me any hint here. Either it mentions a camp, so I'm looking for something that might plausibly be a camp. I think at first this dead patch of grass might be, but it is not. And so I figure then maybe it's this knocked over wagon. Turns out to be correct. Fine, eyes you with amusement, but his voice carries menace. You must be lost, pup. The giant slayers don't share bounties. His smug expression fades in an instant, and he had the gall to send you. His hand moves to his hilt. I should just He stops himself, gritting his teeth. The well-groomed man leans in, swaying as if drunk. You think you got the weapons? You've got two problems, rookie. A flooded entrance for one, and crucible patrols for another. We see more knights than face painters out here. Tell me about the flooded entrance. Must be the rains, he shrugs. We found this in the water, though. He holds up a flat, circular piece of Adra and drops it into a pouch on his belt. Not much natural Adra around here. Might be the key of some kind. Couldn't experiment much with the damn knights prowling around. I don't know what I clicked there. Nope. That's an interesting question, you see. We never ever share bounties. His companions move to stand in line with him, hands on their weapons. That's Whedon's problem, not mine. You should talk to your employer. I'll have words with Whedon. Don't worry about that. He steps forward, his weapon now in his hand. You shouldn't have come. I'm not sure what pickpocket is based on. Is that your mechanics or your dexterity? I don't know. Part of me is tempted to just attack because I suspect they might have loot that is valuable, but it doesn't really feel in Chie's character with how I've been playing her. So I decide to go with the intimidation route. If you don't get your face out of mine, I'll have to split it open. Vine locks eyes with you for an uncomfortably long time. He eventually breaks the stare, spitting a dark stream into the grass. You've got stones, I'll give you that. And you've caught me on a good day. He tosses you the Adra disc. Let's see you figure it out then. He whistles. Come on, odd meals for us tonight. We'll deal with these upstairs later. Be seeing you. He turns to his partners and nods, and they follow his lead down the hill. Hard to keep up reading these dialogues when I don't know my own pacing, as I'm doing it after the fact. Looting is punishable by death, says Commander Kafel. I find myself quite surprised that this group of people just attacks you and you don't get a dialogue of any sort. Seems like the sort of thing you should be able to talk your way around.
Ready, Watcher.
Hey.
An excellent spell there from the Grieving Mother, stunning one of them and knocking all the rest of them, or getting all the rest of them stuck, especially since they mostly seem to be melee attackers, so getting them stuck largely just completely invalidates them. Unless I then close range with enough people for them to attack with, which I suspect I do. Yeah, look at me, running a bunch of people into melee with the melee characters that can't move.
Following your lead. Look out!
Yes. I shall.
Ready, Watcher. My bow's.
Worthen.
Following your lead.
Ready, Watch. Got an arrow. The.
I wish you.
Hey. You're not getting through me. You're not.
Found the robe of deflection, or cloak of deflection rather, and find myself wanting to find someone to put it on. But again, the next slot seems to be one of the most hotly contested gear slots in the game. I ultimately give it to Sagani, figuring it's better than just a little bit of freeze damage reduction and the healing on freeze. Though the healing on freeze damage, or healing on frost damage, I like, doesn't seem actually good. Stone fits in the indentation, but with nothing to hold it in place, it simply falls out. You feel as if you are doing something wrong. Not really having any idea what, I decide to wait until night, because I remember the markings changed at night. I put it back in, and the stone rests easily in the space, and you feel air rushing into tiny gaps in the indentation. It appears to be held firmly in place now. You hear the sliding of stone underneath your feet, and the sudden rush of water. The pool before you begins to drain. And you can even see the water rushing out of the cliff face, which has a nice touch.
Let's see what...
You hear grating and grinding coming from the stone head above you. The chips of Adra in its eye sockets glow a bright green. A voice deep and resonant echoes from the stone mouth. What begins as a garble of language resolves itself in your mother tongue. There is no truer blade than essence forged in bronze. Turn twice to the left and prepare your soul for its reckoning.
My thoughts will be as silent as my feet. Oh? Spot on! Silence surrounds me. I wish you no harm.
I'm ready.
Yes? Wait, say... Your tale ends here!
Ready, Watcher.
I was quite surprised to find that these spiders were petrifying my team. It's not something I generally associate with spiders, and did not remember that that was a thing.
Spot on!
Certainly find myself concerned that if I ever got really badly swarmed by them, it could turn into a big problem, though. With the way passing your turn gives you a new turn very, very quickly,
Following your lead.
petrification doesn't seem too
Let's end
bad.
this.
I think it might be worse in real time with pause, because the turn order mechanics just don't work that way. You're only paralyzed or petrified for one round.
After him, Ichimok.
It just forces you to pass your turn, and you get your turn back almost instantly.
Yes.
Finish them!
I think having buffs and debuffs count down on the turn of the person who they're afflicting or benefiting is ultimately kind of just a mistake in a turn-based system like this. Yeah, some sort of background universal clock tick system,
Oh.
like Final Fantasy Tactics, works much better so that buffs and debuffs don't get... Well, debuffs are better the slower your opponent is, and buffs are also kind of better the slower you are.
Ready, Watcher.
Which is very strange. Not really what you want.
Can't get a good shot with this.
Here I get briefly quite frightened when I see that there are 4 of these specters, because I had misremembered the specters as being the enemies that paralyze on hit, and I'm like, well, 4 of them could potentially lock down a significant chunk of my party. But they are not the ones that paralyze on hit. These are the ones that explode when you kill them, which is a problem in itself, but not as likely to lead to game over a problem as them chain paralyzing you.
Your thoughts must flow deeply indeed. I wish you no harm.
But then again, the paralyze even has the same problem as the petrify I mentioned earlier, that if it wears off after one round, it does relatively little. Just delays your turn a touch.
Let's end this.
Ready, Watcher.
I quite like paralyze effects offensively because they decrease the enemy's
shot with this.
defenses quite a bit, and decreasing their defenses increases my chance to hit, which increases my chance to interrupt, which pushes their turn back in the order, which keeps the debuff on longer. And it creates a chain reaction effect where once you've got enough debuffs on an enemy, it becomes all the easier to keep those debuffs on for a longer time, it seems.
I'm ready.
But to suppress the fears that Eddar has been afflicted with.
Got an arrow for this one.
Following your Sacre Coup!
Hey.
Trying out the flaming sword on Eddar, of course. I've already used it enough with Chie to know I quite like the spell, but
I'm here.
at least with
Got an
Eddar it
arrow for
lasts
this
more
one.
than 2 attacks, because he has more than 3 intelligence, unlike Chie.
For the Republics!
I shall end this. Oh?
Yes? Let's end this!
Ready, Watcher. After him, Ichimok.
Hey.
Your thoughts must flow deeply indeed. I wish you no harm.
I'm ready. For the Republics! Ready, Watcher. Got an arrow for this one.
Following your
Damage Aura doing,
tail ends here.
damage Chant doing some
Stand.
decent work there. But also the Spectres blowing up on death did a substantial chunk of damage to pretty much my entire party, which is
Leave it to
concerning.
me.
Yes.
Let us end this!
Not enough to
I
really
wish you
matter,
no
but
harm.
Ready, Watcher. After
because
an
the fight's
Eastmark.
almost over, but enough that it would have been concerning if there was more of the fight to
I'm
go.
ready. For the Republics!
Hey,
Yeah!
And lots more soul residue, or spirit residue rather. The stone faces Audra eyes glow, and a voice rumbles from its open mouth. The past is the hilt of a weapon. The true warrior grasps it and knows her strength. Speak the quality that defines you. And here I pause for quite some time. I find myself remembering that this is like a choice you make to enchant a spear. But I did not want to look up anything, and so I decided it would be fun to try to guess which each of these choices does. Unfortunately, since my recording didn't work, I don't have those guesses, and I certainly don't remember what they are. So for the sake of having something to say, and since I've already done it and it can't influence my choice, I decided to look it up while doing this. Let's see. This one, working alongside my ally. So the first one is bonus accuracy when attacking the same as an ally. I do think that is what I guessed. The second one is grazes to hits. That's definitely what I guessed for that one. The third one is accuracy when low on health. That is also what I guessed. Well, actually, I guessed damage when low on health, which it also gives. And then the last one is vicious, plus 20% damage on prone, stunned, and flanked enemies. That is not what I guessed for that one for sure. I guessed the first three more or less correctly, but the fourth one I guessed, now that I look it up, I guessed damage reduction penetration, DR penetration. That is surprising. I did not think I'd have gotten that close on my guesses. Well, on this head, I actually was somewhat confident I was at least in the right ballpark for many of them. My guess of DR penetration had me leaning towards picking option 4, but I ultimately decided to go, I believe, with option 2. I am consistent and reliable. I can work through any obstacle with patience and dedication because I felt like it fit the Chie I had been playing more. And I didn't want to try to be metagaming it that much. I mean, I do a little bit of that. I can't help myself, but...
Slow and silent.
Oh?
More Shades and Quingolas. After the last fight, I realized that Shades were the ones that that summoned shadows, so I try to focus on the Shades here so that it's less summoning. So that I have to deal with
Ready,
fewer
Watcher.
summoned enemies, but I don't think I do a particularly good job of focusing on them.
Shed no blood.
hey.
I'm ready. Freros!
face me too. Let's end this!
Hey.
Ready, Watcher. After him, Itamok! Spot on!
Here I was quite disappointed that she only had 39 focus, because she grazed her attack earlier on, and I really wanted to use that Psychic Scream. The enemies all bunched up like they were.
I wish you no harm.
Yes?
Ready, Watcher.
I'd noticed Kana was just about to hit his next phrase, so I just passed his turn so he'd get that.
Sacre Coup!
Let us end this! Ready, Watcher.
I was quite surprised that they were able to stun pretty much my entire team with a single ability. That seemed terrifying if that happened at the wrong time, and I was glad that it happened at the end of the
Got an arrow
fight.
for this
It's
one.
definitely
Your
something
thoughts
to
must
keep in
flow
mind if I
deeply
fight any
indeed.
more of
Your
these
thoughts must flow
Angulas.
deeply indeed.
A green light spills from the relief's eyes. You hear another deep, dark voice. Desire is the aim of the soul. It is purpose and direction, the sharpened point of a blade. Speak your ambition, that your soul may strike true. And here I decided to try and guess again, but I struggled. The first one I thought might be also deals bonus damage when you're low on health, but I'd already guessed that on the previous head, so I decided to guess that it might just be straight up plus might. Which it is not. It is draining. 20% of damage, restored as endurance. The second one, the first one I guess might be constitution. The second one I guess was just might. And the second one is just exceptional. Just interestingly boring a bonus to get from this sort of thing. The third one, I had no idea what the third one would be. Not even the slightest. I don't remember what I guessed for it either, but the effect is plus 10 accuracy when attacking the same target as an ally. And the last one, I actually did guess this one, I think. Attacks can stun on crits. I think that is what I guessed. I said stun or prone or something, I think was my guess. But that is pretty much what I guessed. I'm surprised exceptional is a choice, and that seems very boring. Put on this sort of unique situation. I don't remember which one I chose either. I wish to subdue my foes with my power. So it shall be. A symbol glows to life on the wall. It pulses with light. A vessel of flesh may house a soul for years, but a vessel of bronze will house a soul for generations. Enter the water and choose a vessel of stone.
Laying low.
Hmm?
on! Ready, Watcher.
I wish you no harm.
Hey. Not to alarm you, but I'm slowly dying of poison.
I'm ready. Adolvidore.
Following your lead. Way sail for Takoa!
Here I am quite surprised that he can be petrified while he has Liberating Exhortation on.
Ready, Watcher.
I had not realized that that only suppresses whatever effects are on before you cast it. Anything added afterwards apparently is going to be effective. I thought it was basically for the 4 turns you have Liberating Exhortation on, you are just
Spot
kind of
on.
immune to negative effects.
I shall end this.
Following your lead. For Takoa!
I'm ready. Ready, Watcher. My bow's ready. Finish them!
Yes? Proactive!
Shed no blood.
You feel an unwelcome crawling sensation in your head. A high-pitched ring overwhelms your senses and is accompanied by an angry utterance. Invader! Thief! The voice is alien and fierce, jolting through your mind like lightning. Needles stab at your brain with every syllable, but vanish abruptly along with the words. The ringing in your head is gone.
I shall be quiet as a calm sea, which is not very quiet.
Oh?
Here, I'm fiddling around with this obvious puzzle, figuring it must have something to do with the questions I answered and the spear enchanting ritual that I very vaguely recalled existed, and was trying to figure it out. Are unable to understand the runes inscribed across the surface. A cylindrical hollow, scarcely wider than the shaft of a weapon, runs through the center of this pedestal. This large tunnel curves underneath the floor and continues to the east. It's blocked by glistening ropes of webbing that you might be able to slide past. The walls beneath the webbing feel weak and crumbly. With the proper tools, you might be able to widen the passage. And we do so with a hammer and chisel. You find a weak point in the rock and hammer at the walls of the passage. The brittle stone crumbles away. Within minutes, you've created enough room to slip through the tunnel. As you clear the passage, the needle-like voice digs into your skull once more. Infiltrating, pursuing, you shall not have it. You hear a hungry chittering. Now, feed! Skittering creatures with gnashing mandibles pour from the walls.
Wayful sailmes metu.
Certainly.
I'm here.
I shall end this.
Following your lead. Your tale ends here!
Ready, Watcher. Dead on! Spot on!
Your thoughts must flow deeply indeed. I wish you no harm.
For to come!
I'm ready. The Ashes Vox Convera.
Parathis!
Ready. Got an arrow for this one.
Wayful Selmes Metu.
Shed no blood.
Hey,
That trap there really annoyed me, as you know, I don't have an opportunity to come here in stealth, and therefore I can't really find the trap to disable it before bumbling into it mid-combat. Possible if my mechanics were higher, I would have found it even in combat, but my mechanics can't really be that much higher.
I'm ready.
Following your lead.
not to alarm you, but I'm slowly dying of poison.
Ready, Watcher.
I was surprised. I was checking the fortitude saving throws of my characters because I was surprised that it felt like every single time they'd been hit by one of these spiders, they'd been petrified, and none of them had managed to have their defenses protect against
I'm
it.
ready.
But nobody had a particularly high fortitude, I was surprised to find, with Pelagina having the highest at, I believe, 77. And I was expecting Pelagina's to be closer to 100, and maybe a few of the others to be somewhere in the 80s. I was also very surprised there that I'd gotten an achievement for killing... the achievement specifically said for winning the game having killed 1,200 enemies, and then I looked at my character sheet to find A, I haven't won the game, and B, I'd killed 1,315. Very odd that the achievement triggered when it did, therefore. Don't know what causes that. Very, very strange. I find myself very nervous here, expecting, of course, that these spiders are going to attack me.
I'm ready.
Not wanting to get my back line there surrounded by them. A robed, gangling creature lurches towards you, and you feel something needling in your brain again. The screeching hiss that invades your mind is edged with rage. Digging and ferreting animal! It pauses, its mouthpieces clacking. When its words fill your mind again, they're tempered with fear. My legacy. It clutches an egg-like stone in its spindly fingers. The white stone glows with life, and you feel a presence inside. The creature notices your interest. For the colony, it cocks its head. Animal, calm, peaceful. Yes? Its thoughts echo back at you from within the stone. It occurs to you that a piece of the creature's soul is somehow housed within it. What are you doing with that stone? such a different form, and yet its mind is alive with the same thoughts as ours. She closes her eyes. Home, family, memory. Legacy, colony, its segmented mouthparts scrape together. Young are always few, slow to hatch, fragile. The creature indicates itself with a hairy appendage. Last of colony, soon to die. It draws the stone closer to its narrow chest. Long-dead animals put spirit stuff in metal. It points behind it. I keep spirit stuff in stone. Takes a new colony. Colony alone is weak, young, frail, empty of wisdom. But 2 colonies together survive. Make strong colony. It strokes the stone. Need a legacy to guide new colony. Keep it strong. I struggle with this choice a bit. Ultimately, go, and may there be peace between our kinds, is what Chie will select. Part of me wants to just kill it for the loot and experience if any were to come. But I don't feel like I'm playing Chie as a particularly bloodthirsty character. Much more trying to be diplomatic and benevolent. And I see no reason to believe that this thing has to be a threat. Well, it was attacking me, you know. It was in defense, or it thought it was. Its black, unblinking eyes stare at you. Warm relief gushes into your mind. Knows peace and gentleness, it does. Nor let go, bring legacy. Many thanks. Hopefully that thing doesn't then just go,
I shall be quiet
rampage
as a calm
around the
sea,
countryside murdering innocent
which
people,
is
but
not
who knows?
quiet.
And then this, I assume, is the spear we would have been able to upgrade, but now having looked up information about it, I mean, I suspected this while recording, but now having well looked up information of it, I realize I cannot finish that ritual without having murdered Nredek. So the choices I made before were irrelevant. So if my recollection is correct, I would have created a spear that was reliable and stunning, which would have been half decent, though nobody in my team really uses spears. I think I try a little bit here to see if I can find a way to activate it now that I have the spear, thinking maybe there's something I can do, but ultimately I give up. Oh, I ought to run around a bit trying to make sure I haven't missed anything. The map seems oddly small. Kind of shaped like half the left side of it's missing. And I find a zone I did not enter. And get attacked with specters for exploring it.
I'm here.
Can't get a good shot with this. I shall end this.
Hey.
I'm definitely really liking that choice of Into the Fray. The extra free attack twice per combat is nice, even completely ignoring the pulling an enemy towards you aspect of it.
Your tale ends here!
Ready, Watcher.
I don't remember why I was checking Kanna's initiative there, but
Can't get a good shot with this.
probably wondering to what extent that plus 20% attack speed on his flail is actually helping him get turns faster. It's hard to tell.
Got an arrow for this one.
I shall end this.
Notice that only sometimes the specters activate their exploding death, but I have no idea what causes them to do so sometimes and not others. Seems like it might be that they're more likely to do so when dying to physical damage, as they did not seem to when the grieving mother killed some of them with one of her spells. That is the only time I've noticed it, so I'll have to keep an eye out for that in the future and see if I can discern how that works. Briefly confused about this little extra area over here before realizing, oh, right, that's where all those spiders were. As this little circle here seems oddly pointless. And makes me wonder if I've missed something. And ultimately I can find nothing that I might have missed. Everything about this area leaves me feeling like I've missed something. But I head back up to the surface, and fortunately, while I'd initially considered heading back to hand in that quest, I decided to just call it here, and I rest and end the session. Which is good, because losing all the recording made this a lot more awkward. But I will thank you all for watching and/or listening. And that will be the end of the session, and hopefully the only one that I have to do after the fact like this.